Hello, this is Lawrence R. Harvey, and you're listening to WithoutYourHead.com. Although how you're listening to WithoutYourHead.com without your head, I simply don't know.
Alright, we're back here at Without Your Head. This is Nasty Neil Jones, and I'm joined by Dieter Laser. How you
Yes,
doing
sir.
tonight?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah, it's a real honor to have you here. I'm a big fan of the Human Centipede.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Now, how did you get the role as Dr. Heater in the Human Centipede?
Yeah. My wife, Inge, who is my manager, she got an email from Six Entertainment, and the director, Tom, wanted to meet Dieter Laser in order to cast him for a leading part as a scientist. First of all, we thought, what a strange name, Six Entertainment. Isn't it a little bit pornographic? But later on, we discovered our gang of four. We all have very funny names, starting with Tom Six, the director, his sister, who's the producer, Ilona Six, and the director of photography, Hoff, they call him, which means the king, and finally, Dieter Laser, like a laser beam on a diet. Anyway, on a beautiful Sunday morning, I went to the Hilton Hotel in Berlin. Berlin is where I'm living. And to meet Tom and Ilona, the producer and the director. And I chose a very elegant suit with a crisp white shirt and a dark tie. And I thought I want to make an appearance and impression of a famous scientist. Mm-hmm. So, and anyway, I thought, there I will see maybe 100 of my fellow German actors. But when I entered the lobby of the hotel, it was pretty empty, and both guys were sitting there. And Ilona told me, we flew over from Amsterdam in the Netherlands to meet you and only you, because Tom badly wants you for the lead in his new film. And I thought, gosh, this guy must have a beautiful taste, splendid taste, to only choose Dieter. And I said to myself, Dieter, my friend, be careful, watch out, listen carefully, don't spoil anything. Mm-hmm. And then Tom told me the whole picture in the real time of the film, about 90 minutes, and he was so detailed, and every single shot regarding Dr. Heiter, he described in such an exciting way, and he has the ability to convey his vision and to turn on actors. So after that 90 minutes, I was so excited, I said, Tom, you are dedicated. You have passion. You are even obsessed. I love that. Let's do it. Mm-hmm. And then Ilona said, "Oh yeah, then we will. Let's have a deal." And 3 minutes later, we had a sound deal, and by a handshake. Mm-hmm. So I went home to my wife and said, Inge, I have a leading part. What a beautiful Sunday. I have a fair deal. So what? Beautiful day. Then a week later, the script came. And then I started to become afraid. I thought, oh, my dear friend Dieter, what shall your fellow actors in the theater think about you? They will say you are a pervert. They will think you are a disgusting guy. And what would the bigots among the German critics say about you? Oh, it's dangerous. It's embarrassing. Mm-hmm. But then I had a strong discussion with myself, and I said, Dieter, sweetheart, if this part would have been called Dr. Hannibal Lecter instead of Dr. Heiter, wouldn't you, and no famous names involved, wouldn't you react in a similar way? So sit down on your beautiful ass and start working on the character. And just read 100 times the script. Your fantasy is strong enough to create a unique and strong character. And so I started to work on it.
Yeah.
And then I slowly discovered the beautiful possibility to make a dark-humored, black-humored parody about Nazi ideology. These guys regarded Jews, homosexuals, communists, gypsies as subhumans, as insects like poisonous centipedes, like rats, bugs, in one word, as vermin. So I said to myself, that's wonderful to describe the psyche of these guys. There have been Nazi doctors, if you wouldn't believe it, they really thought that communism should be or is, in their mind, is a genetic disorder. It's unbelievably silly. And I developed lots of fun to kick these ancestors of me, from me, into the balls as hard as possible, metaphorically spoken. And then I started really to have fun with the part.
When you said that Tom, he described every scene, how much of the Doctor did he describe to you, and how much of it did you come up with yourself? Afterwards, it's hard to tell who had which idea, because it's a mix of both. And I started with that. I discovered that Nazi possibility in the script, which is just deeply under the surface, because the main surface, the popcorn level, has to be just horror entertainment. But underneath, I filled it up with all that Nazi psyche stuff to give the character some weight, so that after 90 minutes in the cinema, it lasts a little bit longer than just 90 minutes. So maybe the next day, the the character shows up again in your mind, and just to activate your gut feelings about these complex, because the surface has to be pure entertainment. So I started to say, okay, I want to have an historical, exact and correct doctor's code out of that time. And I had a hard job to find this coat, because it's hardly to find anymore on the market. But I discovered a little company who still produces this original cut from the 1930s. And I brought it over. I brought the whole costume of the part. I brought in to Amsterdam just to be on the safe side. And Tom, there was prepared a whole set of costumes, but Tom loved everything I brought in. The boots, the doctor's coat, and every suit I took privately with me, because I said that fits, and that will serve for the part. And he put in his ideas, I put in my ideas, and he has the strong ability to be very, very precise. On the other hand, he gives the actor a lot of freedom. So you feel safe and guarded, but on the other hand, you are free to improvise and to swim around with your character. Yeah. Now, for the Nazi stuff, was that a lot of that stuff you already knew about, or did you have to do some research?
As a German, and with that criminal father's generation behind me, I had all my life I had a guilt feeling, and when I didn't get a coffee in Great Britain or in the Netherlands when I was a teenager, I said to myself,
they are right. You are a German. Your father's generation are murderers. Even though my father was killed in a special unit because he didn't raise his arms for the Hitler salute, but that didn't matter for that guilt feeling, because in Germany that was under the carpet over years, and therefore the revolution came in '68 because the young people couldn't take it anymore. That everything was hidden and it wasn't spoken about it. In school you never heard anything about it. And therefore I always had a strong interest. So I didn't have to research, because all my youth and all my life I was involved in that guilt chapters of German history. And so I knew slowly, by developing, by coming into age, I developed a lot of knowledge about that. So I didn't have to research anything. I just created everything out of what I in a way genetically knew, and what my fantasy about that developed.
What was the response like in Germany for the movie and for your role?
It's very interesting. In Germany, it hasn't been released yet.
Oh, okay. Because
they are very, very afraid about it.
Mm-hmm.
It still is a taboo in a kind of way. And most films, German films, show things from Nazi time and Nazi stuff. Mm-hmm. They always have that premise, we poor Germans, what we had to suffer. Mm-hmm. And they very seldom go really to the core of evil. Because they say, oh, we had to suffer with the bombs. The Americans gave us freedom, gave us peace. They released us. They made us free. They freed us from the Hitler regime. But in Germany, the tendency is always there was a demonic, evil person like Hitler and a couple of guys around him, his entourage, and the poor nation had to suffer under it. But my opinion is the contrary. I say a whole nation was blindfolded and participated in the crimes of that regime. Mm-hmm. And if you show something about that stuff, which in a really hard way, then they are very afraid to show it.
What in your mind? What was the doctor's motivation to actually create the human centipede?
For Dr. Heiter's?
Yeah.
Motivation?
Mm-hmm.
I think this a man, like we have it in the Nazi psyche, without any soul anymore. Mm-hmm. He has lost his soul. And he's in a panther, in a character panther, and the only possibility to have a relationship is, for example, to his dogs. And he has the God feeling of the Nazis. I'm the God, and other peoples are subhumans. Mm-hmm. And he tried to get a creature to create as a scientific God, to create a creature with whom or with it he can have a kind of relationship. But with the dogs it didn't work, and it wasn't enough for him. So he creates the idea, I have separated twins, like Dr. Mengele had did gruesome experiments in Auschwitz, especially with twins. And I do the contrary. I combine that. Nobody has done that yet. And in thinking of I do what nobody achieved in science. Can do that. Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, he wants, with a creature like the human centipede, then he dreams to start a relationship. Therefore, he tries to make a nice dinner with them, to train them in the garden, to bring the newspaper. So that's a relic of soul, but only a tiny piece in him. The man is inside, is a living dead.
Mm-hmm. Is it ever hard on you to get into a role that's so dark?
I love it, because the good ones are not so interesting to play. And, evil is in the world. Evil has to be shown in art and in entertainment because it's there. Every day we get it in the news, what happens. And every day we can see in war or brainwashed or in special circumstances, you can't know what happens with your psyche. If I didn't have the luck to grow up after the Nazi time in Germany, maybe I would have become brainwashed and would have become a fanatic leader of a Nazi camp. So you never know what your psyche does, because the human animal is, as we know, the most dangerous creature in nature, and likes to become schizophrenic. It's very easy that from one moment to the next you can become schizophrenic, and you don't know how it happened. And therefore, it's always very interesting to show the evil and the dangerous side of the human animal, which is the worst in whole nature. And I love to play characters who are broken, who are difficult, and who are near to evil or near to death.
I gotta say, my favorite scene in the movie was actually when you kissed your own reflection after you made the human centipede. I thought that was really showed what the character was all about.
Absolutely.
Was that scene written that way, or did you?
That's the beautiful thing. If you have a good director, a wonderful, loving, and caring producer, and a director of photography, and we four were a real bunch, a real fist together, then you feel so good that you can improvise a lot, because you are very well prepared for the part. You know exactly what you want to do. And then this scene, for example, was absolutely out of the moment, improvised. And I suddenly thought, I have to kiss myself in the mirror. And many, many details in the film happened during the shooting. For same thing, I was crawling up the stairs. Suddenly, I discovered, during the camera was running, I discovered the blood on the stairs. And in that very short moment, I thought, you have to lick it up. No question about that. And in most cases, Tom and the cameraman, they loved what happened during the shots. Yeah. And therefore, by the same reason, the freedom and the good feeling and to be really relaxed during the work, therefore many, many takes were only shot once, because it immediately worked.
That was the other scene that I was going to mention that really stuck with me, was when you're crawling up the steps and you just stop and start licking up the blood. It's just so bizarre.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are in your character, and I go in the morning, I go with my friend Heiter for a little jog, 4 o'clock in the morning maybe, and then I stick with him the whole day. And it helped my colleagues, it helped a lot, because I never talked to them. I just said good morning, or in the evening I said good night, have a good rest. And for them, that already sounded like heavy threats. And afterwards, when we became close friends, and I respected them a lot because they are American-like educated. You hardly would find in Germany or even in Europe young actors with that discipline and that stamina. And I admired their discipline, and I respected them a lot. And when we afterwards became friends, and I said, you are wonderful because you behave like American actors are educated, which is much more intense and more professional than most young actors I know in Germany. And then we became friends, and they said, oh, we loved how you treated us, even in the private sector, because you never socialized. So we were already, when you came in the morning, or when you went down the stairs from your wardrobe to go in front of the camera, and never apparently I was to be seen, we were already scared when we saw you privately. So it helped a lot.
Now, I don't know if you've seen like all the different critic reviews, and I just want to know what you thought of Roger Ebert not refusing to give the movie any stars, and he said that it dwelled in a place where stars do not shine.
Yeah, I don't care, because the most important thing is to be bold, to dare. And Tom and I, and Ilona as well, and Hofte Koning as well, we are daring guys. We go our way, we do our story, our thing, not looking left or right. And therefore I don't care much more. I love to be in a film who is very controversial. And I was lucky enough that in most critics, even those who didn't like the film, they, in most cases, they acclaimed my work. And therefore, I didn't suffer a lot by the bad critics.
Just 2 weeks ago, actually, on the show, I interviewed Bill Moseley, and I just want to mention, I didn't ask him about you, he just brought this up. And he said that as a horror movie veteran, as an actor, every once in a while you see someone who blows your mind, not just as a fan, but as a performer. Like, wow, who's that guy? And it occurred to me when I saw The Human Centipede, and he went on to talk about you. Does that make you proud that a fellow actor would say something like that about your performance?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and I admire the American actors, and I admire the Anglo-Saxon and especially American style of work, which is different than in Europe, and therefore I'm very proud if another famous actor says, "Good job, Dieter."
Yeah. Actually, when you said about going to talk to Tom Six about the role, and you were the only actor there, and he specifically asked for you, did he say what movies he saw you in that made him think you'd be perfect for the role?
Yeah, he saw me in a German movie where I'm playing a prisoner living in the same cell with the leading part, and he saw that film. And he decided that has to be the lead for Centipede.
Yeah. Now, if an American fan discovered you off Human Centipede, and they wanted to see some of your other work, is there any films you would recommend they would try and seek out?
Oh yeah, there's maybe it would be interesting to see The Man Inside, if it's available, I don't know, which is with Peter Coyote and Jürgen Prochnow, and by Bobby Roth. And there is The Ogre by Volker Schlöndorff with John Malkovich. Maybe some American audience knows Meeting Venus with Glenn Close. And I think that's what I would recommend.
Yeah. Now, the movies, they claim it's medically accurate. In your opinion, do you believe the movie is?
I think so, because I had a tough day with that surgeon who was advising Tom for the script, and I had a long, long day with him, together with him, and he created the drawings, and he explained everything to me. So I got, by this surgeon, I got the impression that it's really 100% accurate, that you really could do it. You wouldn't know how long would the centipede live, because the blood would be poisoned, and there would come heavy problems, but to create it, it is possible, the doctor said.
Now, they're making a sequel, and I don't want to spoil the movie, but I don't know how your character could be in the sequel. Have you talked about being in it?
Yeah, I've talked with Tom about it, and Tom and Eleanor asked me never ever to talk about this, to enhance the suspense, so nobody knows if I will appear there or not. Maybe yes, maybe not. And but I can assure you that we have even more plans to work together and to continue our work. So definitely you will see something from that team anyway. But if I'm in the sequel, in the second one or not, that's a secret, and we will see.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Now, actually, the sequel's being billed as medically inaccurate.
Yeah, 100% inaccurate. I won't tell you what the idea of the sequel, the premise of the sequel will be, but I can assure you that Tom is so sophisticated to create a really, really unexpected idea. You will be astonished, and the audience as well.
Yeah. For the people who say the movie's too gross, too disgusting, do you really think the movie is actually that graphic? And a lot of it is more, just thinking about how horrible this would be.
Yeah. When I got afraid reading the script the first time, then I only realized the consequences of the premise. And same with the audience. In the film itself, you don't see really horrifying things. I think every breast implantation or liposuction in commercial TV is more gruesome and more horrible to watch than what you see in the human centipede. The horror is happening in your mind. And you are creating your film in your mind, which is, I think, a beautiful thing. And I myself was suddenly a victim because that scene when Dr. Heiter says, feed her, shortly before the take started, I was blocked. Suddenly I couldn't speak that sentence because I suddenly saw in my mind what the audience would see in their minds. Mm-hmm. And I had a crisis. And it took a couple of minutes, and I talked to Tom, and I came over it very easily, going back in my Nazi vehicle, and for a second, I lost the character. Dr. Heiter was gone, and suddenly I was kind of an audience, and I couldn't go on. So the whole horror is happening in your minds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially even the very last scene, it leaves you thinking. You really think about what it would be like to be the middle piece, and absolutely.
That's really horrifying, and just because it's the fantasy of the audience, your own fantasy, and that's beautiful with the film, is working a lot on it, and therefore it lasts a little bit longer than normally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the movie really sticks with you.
Yeah, it sticks with you. And I love that. And I love, on the other hand, I love the pitch black humor in it. Yeah. We discovered that during the shooting. We never said, oh, we want it to become funny or to have black humor in it, but it developed. It worked by itself. So out of the situations. And I love that the dark black humor in it, because as they told me, and I have discovered that in New York in the opening night, and as well in London, and especially in Brussels of the film festival, sometimes people laughed like hell. And in Japan, they told me the audience was throughout laughing a lot. And I love that crazy humor in it. And because afterward, when I saw the film first time in Brussels festival, I myself had to giggle a lot, because for me, then Dr. Hyde is already a stranger. And I always said to Tom, look what he's doing here. Isn't that crazy? Because he's so far away then. First, he's the character I have to play is very close. It's nearly inside me. And then after a couple of weeks, I can let him go. And then he's a stranger, and I can't believe that it's me on the screen there.
Mm-hmm. I got a few questions here that people sent in from our Facebook and our MySpace and emails. So ask a few here. We got Golgo wants to know, on the extras of the DVD, it is mentioned that yourself and the actor Akihiro almost got into a fight because he got mad that your kick came too close to his face, and he wanted to know if you could elaborate on this.
Yeah, that's true. We decided with the long lens, we decided about 1.50 meters to kick him in the air, pretending to kicking his face. Mm-hmm. And when we started to shoot it, I just was afraid that it might not look convincing enough, so I reduced the distance maybe from 150 to 1 meter. And 2 or 3 inches closer than spoken about. Mm-hmm. And there was enough space, and it was totally safe in my opinion and in my perspective. But Aki got afraid and stopped and cried, security first, security first. And I did a big mistake. I said to him, that's chicken shit. And he, as a Japanese guy, he was, his honor was spoiled, and he became very, very angry, and we stopped shooting. So I went in my wardrobe, and he went in the makeup room with the whole staff, all people around him, comforting him, and he always said, security first, security first. So then I sat in my wardrobe, and I thought, okay, take his perspective. Try to think like him. If he's afraid, then he has a reason. So you think it wasn't at all dangerous, but if he feels it's dangerous, so what? Go over there. And I went over there and I apologized. And after that, the work even went better, and we got an even closer relationship.
Sherry wants to know, her question is anatomical, she says. Can human number 2 taste human number 1's feces when it goes through, or did you remove the taste buds?
Aha! Oh, it has to be, because, Neil, if you make this to the most disgusting point in the whole film, mm-hmm. then it would be stupid that if she didn't taste anything. The answer is yes, definitely. Mm-hmm. She tasted every little bit of it.
She also wants to know what was the reasoning behind the order of the humans with the male in the front and the two women behind him.
Tom's idea, for sure, he wanted that there's no understanding in language between the head of the centipede and the doctor. And therefore, and it described a little bit the relationship, Japanese and doctor, is a little bit reminding the parties of World War II. There have been the Japanese involved, the Americans, and the Germans. And that's a little bit a tiny metaphor about that constellation, I would say. I think the most important thing is to have the Japanese guy in front, so that with an American there's always a possibility to understand each other more easier than with a Japanese guy. And the lack of language, of communication, should become stronger than Japanese opposite to Dr. Heiter.
With Halloween coming up this week, do you think anyone will dress as Dr. Hyder, or possibly three people get together and do a human centipede costume?
It could be. I can imagine that. I loved in New York in the opening shows. I attended about 3 or 4 shows in New York, and all the young people, they came along and shaking hands very seriously, looking into my eyes like at a funeral, and they said, "Awesome, awesome, awesome," and everybody wanted to have a photo with me. So I think young people would love to make some jokes about it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I was a big fan of the movie, and it seems like either people love it or they hate it, which is probably a good response. It's better than people, not responding to it or just saying it's okay.
I love that controversial thing. I love people, if you hate it or you love it. And I think there's, if you're a horror fan who only wants to see blood, and ugly things, then you might be disappointed because there's little blood, there's no much really horrific things to be seen. But on the other hand, the psychological level is very interesting. People who love psychological horror they create in their own minds. They create their film in their minds. These people, I think, can be satisfied to see the movie.
Well, again, thank you for coming on, and I'd love to see you in more films. Maybe we'll see you in the sequel.
Yes. Yes. Sir, I thank you very much. I appreciate it, and thank you for your time.
Hi, this is Jill Six, and you're listening to WithoutYourHead.com.